on YouTube? All right. So you're live on YouTube. Let's start with the presentation and start recording. Okay. Here we go. All right. Welcome back to another CryptoVagabonds Q&A. Today we're going to be talking about Kamala Harris versus Trump and what does that mean for cryptocurrencies. So without any further ado, I'm going straight to the presentation of today, which is this one. Let me know if you can see my screen. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay, so let me take this zoom out of the way. All right, so here we have it. Just remember, whatever we say in any platform, any content we produce is to be seen as informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only. We do not provide any financial advice. We are not on the business of providing advice in any shape, manner, or form, no legal, no tax, and no investment advice. So this Q&A occurs every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, you can interact with us from Tuesday to Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. We may also come to Clubhouse at a later hour. We're going to be discussing that in the future. Obviously, you can see us here on YouTube, Instagram, and X. So today we're going to be talking about Trump and Harris, the two presidential candidates for this year election, and what we think those two mean for cryptocurrencies. There's different consequences to having either of those elected, and they're very different. So the roadmap of today, we're going to be looking at Donald Trump and what he has been saying on his campaign about cryptocurrencies. We're going to be looking at Kamala's and what does that mean for cryptocurrencies. Also, we feel the need to talk about CBDC and politics because there's a divide in the US when it comes to CBDCs and cryptocurrencies. And then we're going to give our view of what will happen on Congress and what will be the priorities for the president. So first, as cryptocurrencies grows, the US face a choice, pretty similar to the dot-com boom. So friendly regulation will provide innovation, unfriendly regulation will be bad, such as what happened in New York. They passed very negative regulations, and the industry, the Bitcoin industry, at least in the beginning, went to Panama and did not stay in the US. To this day, the US has very unfriendly regulations, and I would say New York, I nickname sometimes the Alcatraz of finance because they have very strict regulations when it comes to finances. Now, needless to say that one side of the spectrum between Democrats and Republicans, one side push for stricter control, and other side says we need less control. So depending on who gets elected, the potential of the industry in the US will be different. So similar to what happens in Brazil, if you guys not know, the authorities went after Starlink from Elon Musk because of issues of freedom of speech. However, by going after Starlink, what happened is there's a diminishing capital investment in Brazil, and there's also fleeing capital. So different regulations will determine the amount of investment and the potential that cryptocurrencies may have within the US. Now, on one side, we have Trump with Make America Great Again or Make Bitcoin Great Again. So this is the new cap that he has. He was on an event, a Bitcoin event, and he spoke. And he also launched his own crypto platform a few days ago. We're going to talk about that more as we go with the presentation. So Trump, just like everyone else, he shifted his view on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And I think that is true for all of us. All of us, the first time we heard about Bitcoin, we did not like it. We thought it was a scam. It was not something good or worth of investment, and we changed our views. And I think the same thing has happened to Donald Trump. It happened to many people on the crypto space. We even see economists changing their view, such as Ray Dalio and some other writers that I already mentioned here to you guys. Everyone that I know, they did not get Bitcoin at first. They first think it was a scam or was something negative, and then they change their views. So now, Donald Trump is going all the way into the crypto space in terms of favor to the crypto space. He already made public that Lutniks, which is the CEO of a company called Cantor Fitzgerald, will be part of his transition team. So he also announced this Monday, and again, this is not financial advice. We do not think this is a product worth investment. We haven't looked at it enough in order to be able to say what do you think about this. So if you do not know, we just say stay away from it. So we're not promoting his product. But he announced on Monday a new cryptocurrency platform called World Liberty Financial. And of course, it will be controlled by his two sons. Now, I cannot emphasize this enough. I'm not recommend you guys to buy it, to invest it. We ourselves here at CryptoVagabonds need to investigate this before I can speak more about it. We have a few things that we can share with you guys so far. So according to the project's white paper, 70% of the ownership of the cryptocurrency will remain for the company, and only 30% will be distributed through a public sale. So it is very centralized. We cannot endorse any project that retains such large amount of their own cryptocurrency. So it was a no-go. Now, the critics find unusual that Donald Trump is launching a cryptocurrency during his presidential campaign. I also find that very unusual. There's a few issues with that. One is distraction from the campaign duties. However, it's being run by his kids. I'm not sure how much that would be a problem, but it does provide a divert of attention or a divide focus for Donald Trump. Now, one thing that I think it may happen is hacks. The project is not starting from ground zero by Donald Trump and his kids. He's taking a project that has already been hacked in the past. So whenever a project becomes too famous or linked to famous people, hackers will see that as a target. So I won't be surprised if the project does get hacked again. Also, the accounts, the X accounts and social media accounts of members of his family has already been hacked in account of this project. So here's the headlines on CoinDesk. So it's already happening. Now, a lot of people are also arguing about the intents or the motives that caused Donald Trump to push this. So they're arguing that this is a business launch and he's driven by financial self-interest and not public service, which I think is a valid opinion. Now, he, of course, has always stood a strong defender of the US dollar, and apparently has a plan to have a US-backed stablecoin. And in his view, that will enhance the presence and the authority of the US dollar on the world, or continue to give power to the US as the world reserve currency. And I kind of agree with that, because the speed of stablecoins is very different than the speed of the regular dollar in the bank account. So its speed means a lot. And stablecoins do really well across time and space when they are in the crypto space. So I think I agree with him on that one. Now, he also believes that it's the job of his administration to encourage institutional investors to enter the crypto space. Just like Mike Saylor, I agree with him, except that he's talking about the crypto space and not Bitcoin. Mike Saylor advocates for only Bitcoin. So Donald Trump is talking about pushing Bitcoin and other digital assets into mainstream financial markets. I could not agree more. I think regardless of pushing or not pushing, we already see ETFs, Bitcoin ETFs by BlackRock. So the institutional financial investors will come to the crypto space. This is just a matter of time and how fast they'll do that. Now, he's talking about friendlier regulations or a deregulatory environment, and he believes that regulation will spur innovation and cause the market growth within the US, which, by the way, I agree with that as well. So according to what he has been saying, his policies might stimulate also job growth in the blockchain and fintech sectors, fostering a more welcoming environment for the crypto business. And I think the US is in heavy and is in extreme need of a friendlier environment. I talk to people who own exchanges, and we ourselves are trying to acquire exchanges. And it's difficult because if you want to serve the American market, it's just impossible. So yes, there's a need for friendlier and clearer regulations within America, within the US. So, and it's not just that. RFK also suspended his campaign and now backing Donald Trump. You guys can see this. They have made calls. They have made those calls public on X. So he got a support of RFK. Now, price prediction. And again, this is not financial advice and it's not CryptoVagabonds prediction. It's prediction that we have seen CoinDesk and other platforms. Some talk about a 90K Bitcoin by the end of the year if Donald Trump gets elected. Is that true? Time will tell. We're not here to do price predictions. Now, that was on Donald Trump. Let's talk about Kamala Harris. And there is also a price prediction if Kamala Harris gets elected. So let's talk about that. Kamala Harris, now, about a month ago, she advocated for innovation within the blockchain and digital assets. And she emphasized something which seems to be very nice at the beginning, but it is a problem, at least in my view. She's emphasizing the need to protect customers and financial stability. That is something that I don't think is the role of the government to decide how stable the financial world would be, and also protection of customer. Now, in mid-August, the Democrats, they jump on a video call with some members of the crypto industry, and they want to reset the relationship with the sector. In my view, this is just blah, blah, blah. I don't see anything good coming from that. So there's a group called Crypto for Harris, and the group has, of course, aimed to get funds from the crypto industry to support Kamala Harris' campaign. My view from an outsider, I'll be open to you guys challenge me here on the Q&A. I don't think Kamala Harris is positive for the crypto space, especially when she, for instance, gets involved with Gary Gensler, and she talks about promoting Gary Gensler, which we're going to be talking about in a few more slides. So according to her and her team, she supports an enhanced oversight of the crypto exchanges. We saw what happened with FTX. FTX was one exchange that was really coming close to the government, and we saw what happened there. In my view, this marriage between the private economical sector and the government is not something that I look forward to see it, but it is something that she's promoting. Now, she's also, again, prioritizing the protection of customers, as if the American public, they're not adults, they need big daddy government to protect them. Whenever government uses the idea of protecting clients or protecting customers or protecting the public, that means very negative regulations to the space, to the industry. So in my view, that is not positive. And also, she's already talking about nominating Gary Gensler as the Treasury Secretary, replacing Janet Yellen. So you guys know already about Gary Gensler and how well he performed his role at the SEC. I would think that that performance at SEC would make him leave the SEC and not get involved in the crypto space anymore or anything to do with the crypto space. However, she's talking about getting him to be the Treasury Secretary. I think, in my view, it's negative for the crypto space, but time will tell. So Harris administration might enforce stronger tax policies. She's talking about increasing taxes for those who make above a certain bracket, and she's talking about giving tax benefits for those below a certain bracket. But she demands complete compliance and complete transparency. The problem with compliance and transparency is that the laws and the regulations are not very clear. If you don't have clear regulation, anyone can claim that you're not complying. And also when she talks about full transparency, she's talking about full surveillance on every transaction that happens within American citizens, and they want to extend that beyond the US. Now, while Harris' approach may slow speculative trading and make more difficult for Americans to get the service, again, it could lead to a more stable, less volatile crypto market. Those are the claims. I don't believe that. I believe they're just going to push the market outside the US, and that's going to be very negative. And I think if you own cryptocurrencies, and regardless of who gets elected, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris or Democrats or Republicans, eventually, if you own cryptocurrencies and you are within the US territory, you are very likely to be facing some problems with your government in the future. That's just my view. So I think she's going to be implementing stricter regulations. She's going to stifle investment into the industry within the US. And some people are predicting that if she gets elected, Bitcoin prices may go as low as 30K. Now, again, these are just price predictions. I don't think in the long term, we should care about price prediction. In the long term, Bitcoin is very likely to go up. But in the short term, given monetary policies and what's happening, for instance, today with the federal meeting, the rule of thumb is monetary policy comes first and everything else comes second. So, but I do not see a very good, I would say, environment for crypto space within the US if Kamala Harris get elected. That's my view. I'm open to be challenged. As soon as we finish this, you guys can ask me questions. You can also ask me questions on Clubhouse or send me commentaries. That's my view. So she is proposing a few other things, not just talking about cryptocurrencies, but some other financial ideas that she has that may be negative. She's talking about giving a $25,000 down payment to support first-time home buyers. I think that is a very negative idea. Long-term, you give $25,000 for people to buy their new homes. That's going to inflate the price of home, and the affordable home is never going to be there, never going to happen, because if you give money to people to buy their homes, prices are going to go up. Remember, prices of everything depends. Do I want to buy or you want to sell? So if more people are wanting to buy, prices will go up. So affordable housing is not going to happen. I have other views about affordable housing. I don't think it will ever happen in the US. I don't think it's feasible. If you guys want to find out why, let me know in the comments below. I'll make a presentation or a video just about that. So she's also talking about another 1.3 billion in additional funding and over 17 billion to total support of historical Black colleges. Yes, education is necessary, but I'm not sure that's the way. And again, I'm open to be challenged. My view is she will continue giving money. She's going to take from Paul to give to Peter. So that's my view on Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party. Again, more than welcome to be challenged. Now, one other thing I want to talk about is CBDCs and politics. And here is where there's a big divider. Republicans are not in favor of CBDCs. Democrats seem to be in favor of CBDCs. You can see here, Mike Flood refused his rhetorical device, urging the audience to imagine the politician you despise most with control over CBDCs. There is a project called Project Hamilton that is looking for the feasibility of CBDCs. I have already made videos about this. I can see why China wants CBDC. I cannot see the American population wanting CBDCs. So we have here a few points where Republicans and Democrats diverge on CBDCs. Republicans, they view central bank digital currencies as potential tools for government surveillance and government abuse. I could not agree more with that. They are concerned that CBDCs could be misused to infringe on citizens' privacy. I think the American citizen privacy has been infringed for a very long time, especially after 9/11. And they also say that pushing for laws to prevent possible government overreach with CBDCs. So they're not in favor of CBDCs, and I do agree on that instance. I stay with the Republicans. Now, the Democrats have a very different view. They emphasize the innovation and how that will maintain the US dollar's competitiveness in the digital economy. I don't think so. I think if they just endorse stablecoin, that will be enough. They're criticizing that the CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act for poor drafting and lack of long-term foresight. So they're against an action that has been taken against CBDCs. And they worry that limiting CBDC research could harm the US dollar's global standing. I don't agree with any of that. I don't think any of that is a plausible excuse. I think CBDCs are not going to benefit anyone except a tyrannical government. So that's my view. Now, the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell at least, he's trying to be very polite and remains to be neutral, but I think he's more against CBDCs, especially when it comes to the infringing privacy of the American population. So I never thought I would say this, but I do appreciate and I do have a certain admiration for Jerome Powell in a few things. His view of inflation and how he's been sincere about how he did not know what caused inflation. And here's another instance where I am on the side of Jerome Powell. So now, he hasn't talked about FedNow instant payments. I do not know enough about FedNow, but I do not think of any instant payment that is run by the Federal Reserve makes any sense for any central bank. So I think Venmo and a few other paying apps are serving the public well enough. As an outsider, I do not see the point of FedNow. If you guys are American and want to share your opinion with me, you guys use it, please let me know. I don't see the point of this. So now that was Jerome Powell and on Trump and Kamala Harris. Now, should cryptocurrency be the priority for a president? I don't think so. I think presidents will prioritize or should be prioritizing other issues such as economy, healthcare, foreign policy. If you guys do not know, in my view, there's no such thing as domestic policy. Domestic policy is only there if foreign policy allows that to happen. If you want to find out more about this, I can discuss that with you guys. But for instance, if Saudi Arabia and Russia decides not to produce petrol, there is no such thing as domestic policy in the US. They have to defend their foreign policy. So I think that's going to be much more pressing issues for the presidents to deal with than cryptocurrencies. So I think the focus on cryptocurrencies will be delayed unless BlackRock pushes some envelope or pulls some strings. I don't see that changing. So regardless of who is the president, I think cryptocurrency legislation will have to pass regardless to the Senate and the House of Representatives. So the US is not a dictatorship. A president does not have all of the power. It's things you have to go through the Congress. So I don't see so much power on one president. Even though I share what is the view of Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, we still have to think about Congress. So if a majority in Congress opposes cryptocurrency, it doesn't matter what the president does want or does not want. So if you're going to vote, I would say to you guys, I prefer to have a president that is in favor of cryptocurrencies. And when time comes to vote for members of Congress, try to choose candidates that are more friendly to cryptocurrencies, because those also may be the same candidates that have a higher regard for private property. That's my view. So I'm just saying here, and I argue, I think if you own cryptocurrency and if you are part of the crypto industry, you should focus on supporting candidates that are in favor of cryptocurrency, regardless of which political party they're members of. So I think only when we gain enough political power or legislative support in Congress, we're going to have more favor of crypto laws. That's my view. So it's not just about the president, it's about every other candidate. And the more candidates that are in power that favor cryptocurrency, the better it's going to be for crypto in the long term. So let's give a little recap. I just briefly mentioned to you guys a few things that we can gather from Donald Trump, crypto campaign, Kamala Harris, how CBDCs are dividing issue in the US. And it's not just about the presidents. We also have to talk about Congress and what should be the priorities of the president. Again, I don't think cryptocurrency is part of their priority. We have a lot of conflicts in the globe. There's a lot of other things that should be on their top priority and not just cryptocurrency. So if you want to find out more about those things and be in control of your money, please consider joining the Academy. Link for that on the description below. And with that, I end this presentation and I yield the mic to you guys to ask questions and see if I can answer them. That's it for now. In terms of sharing, I'll be open to your questions. So here we go. No questions? You can call it a day then. Carl is there.
I was thinking just that, like, I think I'm not 100% sure what is the difference between CBDCs and stable coins. Like CBDCs, can a CBDC be this like similar to a stable coin and be private?
They're very different. So here's the difference. Stable coins are issued by different companies. So let's say, for instance, Circle or Tether. Those are privately issued stable coins. They are backed by some other instruments, and they are launched on a blockchain that is not under the control. Excuse me. And they're launched not just in one blockchain, but several blockchains which are not under control of the issuer. So if you and I decide to issue, for instance, a stable coin, we can find a way to back it up. We can find a way to legitimize our stablecoin. But however, we're not going to launch our own blockchain. We're either going to launch that on different blockchains such as ETH, BNB chain. Even now there is some stablecoins launch on Bitcoin layer 2. So there are several blockchains we can use, Tron, Polygon, you name it. Now, those blockchains, they're public, they're open source. We do not control them. So the users of our stablecoins are free to do whatever they want with the stablecoins and find tools to provide the privacy. We cannot revert transactions. We cannot monitor who is using. CBDCs will be different. CBDCs will have to be launched on a centralized blockchain controlled by the central banks where they have the power to revert transactions and monitor everything you do with that money. Approve and disapprove transactions. So that's the difference. Stable coins, no one can stop my transaction. No one can block my transaction. No one can revert my transaction. And no one can monitor what I buy or don't buy unless I reveal to be the owner of the specific crypto address. There are some blockchains that enable for that. I think we made a video about that here. So there are some blockchains that enable that level of control for CBDCs. So whenever they launch a CBDC, either they're going to create their own blockchain, which is very centralized, or they're going to use a blockchain that enables them to revert transactions. So that's something to monitor and to be careful and to watch for. Does that make
But that's
sense?
because it's the government. What if they decide to make it, I mean, if they decided to make it in a private and more reliable blockchain, it couldn't be a CBDC then?
No, then would be a
Or
stablecoin because CBDC stands for Central Bank Digital Currency. So it's in total control of the central bank. If it's not controlled by the central bank, I'm going to give an example to you. The Federal Reserve can say, we endorse USDC, which I think they would do it, right? Circles. Now they're endorsing another stablecoin, which is not issued by them. That's different. I think that is fantastic that happens. Now, for them to issue, because what happens is this. Let's see if I have that here. I may have it here. So there's a few problems besides privacy. Let me talk about one of them. So this is a US dollar. Okay. Now, when I carry this was issued by the Federal Reserve. This was not issued by Wells Fargo. This was issued by the Federal Reserve. When I carry this bill, I have a direct relationship with the Federal Reserve. There's no intermediary between me and the Federal Reserve. They issue an instrument, which is on my hand. I carry an instrument, which is directly issued by the Federal Reserve. And I can do with this whatever I please. I can transact with whoever I want. And there's no way for the Federal Reserve to stop me. Unless they use violence and send the police force, they cannot stop me from transacting with this dollar. Another thing they cannot stop me from doing, which is illegal, is to destroy. I can burn this dollar, right? Now, this dollar is my property. Even though it's issued by the Federal Reserve, it's my property. The only thing the Federal Reserve can do without my consent is to issue so many bills of $100 where the purchasing value of this diminish. So I do not control, nor the Federal Reserve control the value of this. What can I buy with this? But they control the amount in circulation, which may cause a depreciation price. That's the only thing I do not control. If I have a CBDC on my phone, on an app, that is very different. That means I'm going to have a financial instrument on my phone issued by the Federal Reserve. Now, what does that mean? When I carry this, I don't need a bank. I don't need anyone between me and the Federal Reserve. When I have a CBDC on my phone, I also do not need any bank. Now, one big problem which prevents central banks from issuing CBDCs is exactly this. The moment they issue a US dollar, which you can carry on an app on your phone, why would you use a bank? Why would you use a commercial bank? Why would you open an account at Wells Fargo? Why would you open an account on Citibank? Why would you open an account at Barclays or any other bank? That's one thing that the Federal Reserve had not the Federal Reserve, no central bank has been able to come up with a solution. If we create an instrument which is going to replace cash, to which I need no banking. There is no need for me to have a bank account to hold this. There'll be no need for banks when I have CBDCs or this on my phone. So then what happened to commercial banks? Now you can say, okay, they cease to exist, fantastic. Then the central bank has a problem that they have not been able to solve ever since banks into existence. The central bank, for instance, of England, the Bank of England, they gave bank accounts at the central bank to anyone that worked at the central bank. In 2016, they realized they could not compete with the private sector in provision of service. So they closed down everybody's account. They ordered everyone to close their accounts at the central bank, the Bank of England. So when you have government who, by the way, impose their service on you and you have no way to vote for that service. For instance, if I don't like what Wells Fargo provide me, I can go to Citibank. But if you have central bank digital currency, you have total monopoly and you have no choice. There'll be no way for you to choose which bank provides you the best service. Everyone is going to be into what I believe to be the most tyrannical banking system in the world, where instead of me having the freedom that this provides me, I'll have the restriction that the digital version of this would impose on me. So that's the biggest difference. And people don't pay attention to this. It's very different than central bank digital currency on my phone or on my computer, because this provides me freedom and privacy. Central bank digital currency does not provide me freedom nor privacy, not even choice of choosing which bank to work with.
But for example, there is a CBDC in China, right?
Yes.
But it doesn't really have much adoption.
No, because central banks are not a problem. They cannot control. They get hacked. What happens in China is the system gets hacked. The governments are not the best at securing networks. They're just not. But you have an idea. The military forces in Russia, what communication system do they use? Not the one created by them. They use Telegram. Same thing for CIA, FBI agents, people who want to have secret communication. They don't use their own secret system because it gets hacked. The private sector excels at providing security. CIA, FBI, they use Signal or Telegram. They do not use their own communication venue because their governments are horrible at securing digital systems. Only now they're talking about cybersecurity quite recently. So hackers are always ahead of the curve. And the private sector will always be ahead in that. There's no military service today that provides a secure communication system as good as Telegram or Signal. And that comes from the private sector. We made a video about this, right? Even the cable that we can get on the private sector for $200, the government gets for $20,000. It's only 100 times more expensive for them than it is for us. So
then how are they gonna force people to use something that is not even secure? I mean, this is contradictory.
oh, that's easy. How they force you to use the dollar?
Yeah, but if someone gets hacked, what are they gonna do? Just
well, they can
issue
revert
more?
transactions. They can create more, right? It becomes a nightmare for them. It becomes a nightmare for them. It became a nightmare for China. China does not know how to do it. It's not that China does not know how to force people to use it. They cannot provide something that the public can use. Because it's being hacked, it's being having bugs, it's being having problems. And government, by definition, can only do things inefficiently because they do not have the free market voting for what they produce. The educational system, the curriculum of the educational system in school, you don't have a saying. You cannot say, oh, this public school gives you a better curriculum than that one. Is one uniform curriculum centralized by definition, and then you have no choice. Only the private sector can give choice, and even the private sector has to abide by the curriculum of the government. Any government spending is, or creation is by definition inefficient because they don't have competition. They don't have anyone to compete with. So.
Still, they don't have much adoption, so I guess
No.
they're not really forcing people that much.
Nigeria tried it failed. China tried, it failed. Pretty much every country that has tried CBDCs, they have failed. It's specifically because there is no way for them to do this. Most of them realize this. The US dollar on Citibank is not accepted by Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo does not accept the US dollar on Citibank. When you open an account, when I go to Citibank with this, I deposit this, they put Citibank dollars on my account, not US dollars, Citibank dollars. I see and I believe is US dollars. But if I try to take $100 from Citibank and go to Wells Fargo say, no, I don't want the dollar from Citibank. What they want is the Federal Reserve deposit held by the Federal Reserve on the name of Citibank to be transferred to their account with the Federal Reserve. And then they give me Wells Fargo $100. Every digit you see on your bank account is not this and will never be unless you manage to withdraw it. And the limits on withdrawal are decreasing very rapidly. The moment you give this, you're going to see $100, but there are two different ledgers. And one bank, no commercial bank accepts money from another commercial bank. They want the money created by the Federal Reserve on the accounts of those commercial banks, not the money they put on that's how banks go bankrupt. If every client from Citibank tried to put their money on Wells Fargo, by the time that 5% of the clients did this, Citibank goes bankrupt. They don't have the dollars to transfer, and Wells Fargo does not accept their dollars. It don't accept the Federal Reserve currency. So when the Federal Reserve does this, when they create their own US dollar and force it on the population, the money supply decreased tremendously because no bank has more than 3 to 5% of the money that they have with their clients on their bank accounts, on their vaults. And they don't accept each other's money. No commercial bank accepts money from another commercial bank. This may come as news to you guys, but most people don't. I think most people don't even understand what we're talking about here. Does it make sense to everyone? I think maybe everyone that's here may understand this. Ross, Maria, Lifaro, yes, I think they do. Most people here are members of the academy, yes.
Yeah.
Ross like broken. What does that mean, Ross?
No, just thinking about it and knowing what you said is true, and in terms of freedom, options, the government itself. So yeah, it just is what it is. But at least now I understand it.
Yeah. The more you understand it, the more you learn. I think the more like disappointed you become. And I think most people, when they begin to study those things, they say to me,
Yes.
I don't understand. It's like it's not that you don't understand. Your mind cannot believe it's true.
Yes, that was me.
People are like, no, what I understand cannot be true. It's like, no, you understand it right. It's just your mind refusing to believe that this is possible. So, yeah. Yeah. We have a class on the Academy, Lali, on the very beginning lessons on how the banking works. I actually made illustrations of different banks. I even call like Vagabonds Bank and Howard Bow and Fractional Reserve. I think there's a lesson on the Academy. If you go to that, it's really explain like in very simple terms how the banking works. You know which lesson I'm talking about, right, Cora?
Well, I'm trying to find it. I know which one you're talking about, but I don't know what's the name of or the number. I don't remember.
Of that class, but it is there in the beginning part here. So this year is going to be very difficult for us to talk about anything but politics because half of the planet is voting, and I think almost half of the planet now is at war. I'm laughing, but it's really sad. So half of the world is voting, and the other half of the world is at war. It's just incredible. Today, I found out that with the new amount of soldiers, Russia today holds, I think, the second, the first largest army on the planet. And I don't see how Ukraine is going to be able to carry on this fight, because if there's one thing we decide is the winner is the amount of boots on the ground. And if Russia today has the second largest army on the planet, I doubt that Ukraine has the third largest army. So it's going to be difficult.
I do have a question, but it
Go.
is related to wars because that is something I was not able to ask yesterday in the academy.
Tell me.
Basically that in the movie we were watching, they say that we are all like connected and that we will never be able to end the perpetual wars. They say that in the movie. So I don't know. I was wondering if you think that's true and that we will never be able to end, like, have peace. I don't know.
Okay, so
Mhm.
I can answer this. First, we need to understand one thing. Geopolitically speaking, there's always going to be war between countries, always. Because the rule number one of geopolitics, according to me, and how I interpret many things that I have read, it is only yours if you can defend. I'll repeat, it's only yours if you can defend. The best example I can give to you is Tibet, right? Very nice, peaceful leader, right? Dalai Lama. Where is Tibet? They couldn't defend it. So it's not theirs. China took over. You have border disputes within many countries because they want resources. They want control of geographical territory. So if you cannot defend a territory, it's not yours. Now, if someone invades my house, right, I had the possibility of calling 911, a version of 911 in my country, where the police comes and take the burglars out or try to defend my property. When it comes to countries, there is no 911. Is it that you defend or you don't? Are you capable of defending your territory or you can't defend your territory? What is happening with Ukraine is very unique. Russia took some part and Zelensky can call 911 in the US. That's very unique. Oh, the US come now and help, but normally there's no such thing, right? The US has been named as 911. Exactly. So, but at one point, right, the US is going to have to decide how much can I stretch myself. So that's one point. Geopolitically speaking, war is default. Peace is a very rare moment. Second point, we have made war to be the most profitable business on the planet. How many billions went to Ukraine? You think any of those billions are in Ukraine, benefiting the population? You think that is on the hospital in Ukraine, providing medical supplies, feeding the population? No. All those billions are on the bank accounts of the industrial military complex of the US. So the money is not even going to Ukraine. Those billions go to Zelensky as a loan, to the Ukraine as a loan. Then he takes that money, he gives to some corrupt politicians and himself for his retirement. And the vast majority of that goes to companies that are producing the weapons that he needs to fight his war. And those companies are not in Ukraine. Those companies are American companies. So the military industrial complex, they're very happy. BlackRock is very happy with all these wars because they're making a lot of money. You want to make an investment that's guaranteed to give you profits, forget about Amazon. Just invest on the military industrial complex. You're going to make money because there's always going to be wars. Because you can only have it what you can defend. And in order to defend, you got to buy weapons. You got to buy ammunition. So we always going to have war. There's no way not to have war. The same way relationship is all about mitigating conflicts. No matter if you're a daughter, if you're a sister, if you're a husband, there's always conflict. Most peace and then conflicts. Peace and conflicts. We're always at conflict. One way or another, we're always going to be at conflict. And it's not just us, it's the animal kingdom, because resources are scarce. This idea that we live in a world of abundance and we don't need to fight, tell that to lions, tell that to zebras, to crocodiles, to monkeys, to ants, to bees. All resources are scarce and all animals fight to defend what they need. Even in plants, go to a forest, you see the vine taking down trees. You see trees taking the shade away from other trees. We are always in perpetual war for resources because resources are scarce. Always going to be. This world of abundance that people imagine is only on their imagination. And you want to see some serious conflict? Go hang out with hippies. People who preach peace and love. Go hang out with them. You have done that by your face. You have not seen.
So, but why are they, I don't know, talking about peace and not being peaceful?
No, we can't. In order for us to have peace externally, this was something I learned from my grandparents. In order for us to have peace externally, we need to have wars internally. We need to confront our own demons, our own inadequacies, our own selves. And that's something that human beings don't like. They would destroy billions of people before voluntarily accepting looking at themselves. Yeah. Wait a
This
minute,
flower
Douglas.
children. What is that?
I don't know, Lali. Let's look for what that is. Flower children.
What is that, Lali?
Hippies.
So children. Like
Yeah.
they are forever children or what?
It's a kind way of saying hippie, yeah.
But it's weird that the word children is there. They are always
Yeah.
children, always infants.
They live on the ideal, right? My father was in a relationship with a flower child, right? Extremely socialist, extremely peace and love, you know. And one day they broke up. Coincidentally, I was arriving in town that day. I arrived at the house of my father literally minutes before she walked away. And I say to my father, you know, should I make a coffee for you, whatever? My father, I don't have a pot to make coffee. My socialist girlfriend took it off. She left him without one single pot to boil water to make coffee. No gas, no stove. There were 3 stoves in the house. She took all 3 of them. There were 2 fridges in the house. She took all 2 of them. This is because she was a hippie socialist. I had to arrive and go and buy things for my father to put furniture in his house because there was nothing.
Because the socialists didn't want to share anything. Okay.
3 stoves, 2 fridges, and all the pots and cups and glasses were gone. Not spoons, nothing left now. My father said, laughing, the socialists took it all. Oh boy, we spent days refurnishing the house, getting cutlery, pots, glasses. This is a very unforgettable scene in my life. Like, I arrived
Oh,
just as she was walking up.
she left with a truck.
Yes, she brought her,
Okay.
she and her social friends, they left it all. The house was empty. My father only could keep the bed because he made it. It was too heavy to carry it. So it was just the bed and the mattress left in the house.
And the
And his
house.
clothing, of course. Oh, that was beautiful. Saying my socialist friend, my socialist girlfriend left it all. Left nothing with me. Yeah. So if you no more questions, I think we can call it a day. Yeah? It's 5 minutes to 6. I wonder how it's in the US, to deal with the socialists, and because that's my experience in South America. Ross, Georgi also lives in a socialist country. You can tell me. Lali, socialists, they're very generous with other people's stuff, not with theirs. Yeah. I think I killed the room. I killed the event today saying that. So
No, I don't know how it's gonna sound, but I think all government employees are socialists.
I couldn't agree more, Georgi. Yeah.
I mean, especially here in Eastern Europe, because it was part of the system to a government employee, you were part of the system, so you had some privileges, and all these people, they were used to someone giving them something, and they're still waiting for something more to give it to them. So yeah, it's kind of you have to experience it, if I have to describe it, I will have to use like not a lot of good words, but
So the girlfriend of my dad, she was also an employee for the government. So you're totally right, Georgi. Go ahead, Lali.
Oh, just you don't bite the hand that feeds you, typically.
What is that, Lali?
People don't typically bite the hand that feeds them. So if they're living off of government money, they're going to be a socialist.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah. And I think the entire Western world is going to a socialist regime. Go ahead, Georgi.
and one thing that I see that I notice, like when I see some socialist people, they're so pissed off that someone has something that they don't. And the thing is that they expect someone to give it to them. And
Yes.
it's a huge controversy.
Yeah, they feel entitled, man. That's my experience with them.
They're so pissed off that they don't have this and that, but they're not willing to risk. They're not willing to go for it. They don't want to do anything about it. They just want someone to give it to them.
In that sense, it's going to sound even more like negative. In that sense, I respect Pikeys, you know? At least Pikeys are honest. They just go and take, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Who?
I will stop.
Gypsies.
Pikeys? Who?
Yeah.
Who do you respect? I don't know that term.
Gypsies.
Oh, gypsies.
At least they take it. No, they're honest about being dishonest.
Right.
I know where they stand, and they know where they stand is a common ground. You tell a socialist that they are taking things they don't agree with you. You know, you say that to a gypsy, he's like, yeah, that's at least they're honest about it. So I can respect that, you know. Yeah, but I think the right term is Roma. Gypsies.
If you want to be politically correct, yes.
I can't hear Draghi, but I think it's Roma, the right term.
I lost you for a few seconds. I didn't hear you what you said.
I'm saying I think Pikeys and Gypsies is not the right term. I think the right term is Roma, right? In Bulgaria, it's also called Roma.
Yeah, in Bulgaria, it's called Romi.
Romi, yeah.
If
In
you want to be
Portugal,
politically correct, it
yes.
is. But
It is.
I haven't known you to be concerned with being politically correct. So let it rip.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, it's 7 o'clock. This was fun. We ended up talking about Pikeys. Appreciate you all. See you guys tomorrow in Clubhouse. And see you guys on Academy tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Can we
guys.
talk? Can we talk today? Hello?
He froze.
You mean me?
Like,
Oh, he's
Or-
gone. No. Oh, Cora. Cora or me, I'd like to talk with you.
Yeah,
For sure.
I will send you a message.
Okay, great. Thank you, dear. Okay,
Bye.
bye.